too many turnarounds, right? So in this lesson, we're going to look at 10 turnarounds for the key of E. This kind of vocabulary building gives you a real flexibility in your playing. Not all improvising is coming up with something completely new from scratch all the time. A lot of it is just having a big enough vocabulary of moves that you can swap them in and out and mix things up on the fly using things that you've learned, using things that you know will slot into a particular point in the chord progression. This is a lot of what I teach in my membership, the Fingerstyle 5. When I talk about arranging, when I talk about improvising, a lot of it is about creating these building blocks and acquiring this vocabulary so that you can start to feel more free in your own playing. If you'd like to learn more about that, just go to fretboardconfidential.com to find out more. But in the meantime, let's get going and check out these 10 turnarounds. Okay, we're going to group these turnarounds into families to keep them easier to keep track of. But I'm going to show you the first one first, and then we'll sort of backtrack and talk about a more general rule for how to think about these, because they're all going to fall into the same rhythmic spot in the tune. But here's the first turnaround, and you may know this or a version of it, but we're going to use it as a template for the other 9. So on beat 1, I'm playing the low E bass string, and on the and of 1, I'm playing the high E with my ring finger. Then on beat 2, I'm going to grab this shape, which looks exactly like this E7 shape down here, but it's slid up. So I've got the 5th fret on the 5th string and the 4th fret on the 3rd string, and I'm going to grab thumb and index. Thumb is going to play the 5th string, index is going to play the 3rd string. I'm going to grab that pinch right on beat 2, and then the ring finger is going to play the high string, and then the index is going to come back in and play the 3rd string again. That's a triplet feel figure. So 2 and Then I'm going to slide down 1 fret, 3 and It's the exact same move. Pinch, high string, 3rd string. Down 1 more fret, 4 and And then on the beginning of the next measure, I'm going to hammer on to the 3rd of the E chord while I play the low E bass. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now that's the basic architecture. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. We can do other things in that space, and it's also good to understand where that fits into the chord progression. That's happening in bars, mainly in bar 11 and landing in bar 12. So if you think about the last 4 bars of the blues, you're coming from the 5 chord in bar 9. Here's the 5, B7, then to the A, and then here we go, 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Maybe the high string on the end of 4, and then a bass to walk us up to the B7. So 1 and 2 and a 3, 4 for that last bar. So bar 9, bar 10, bar 11 is where we start. Here's bar 12, 1 and 2 and a 3. Right? So if we know that, we can start to create variations on that. So in this first family, based around this chord shape, we can basically reverse the order of these intervals. I think of this as the Muddy Waters version because it's on some of the earliest Muddy Waters recordings. And so now we can just change what we have after beat 1. So 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So we land here now on the 4th fret of the 3rd string and the thumb on the low string at the beginning of bar 12. So everything's the same except for the order in which this happens. So 1 and pinch and a pinch and a pinch and a pinch. So there's turnaround number 2. Turnaround number 3, we can go from here, start at the same as turnaround number 1, but then go down to this shape this shape to that shape. So what we're doing is it's the exact same rhythm. But now we're changing what the chords are. We're going from this shape, which is an E7, down to an A with the C sharp in the bass. So here's the root of A, and here's C sharp. And then this is a C7 chord. We got the root and the flat 7 of C. And then I'm going to do the hammer on with the bass, but also grab the high string with my ring finger. So here's turnaround number 3 again. Or I guess with that hammer on. Either one. And finally, in the same family, we can go to this kind of shape. So put the 3rd in the bass for the E chord and grab the 5th of the chord up here. So instead of having this shape, which is the flat 7 and the 5th, we're going to have the 3rd in the bass and then the 5th up here. So using the ring finger of the left hand to grab the 4th fret of the low string, pinky's grabbing the 4th fret on the 3rd string. Still going to play that triplet feel, still going to play the high string. And we're going to slide this down 1 fret at a time, 1 fret at a time. So 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So that's 4 turnarounds in that family. Now, we can take a different shape and take more the idea of a whole chord moving down. So we think about E7 chord shapes, like here's the 5th and the flat 7 and the 3rd of E, and here's the flat 7 and the root and the 3rd of E. So we can have things like this. If we leave out the top note and just play the open high string, we can have the 5th, the flat 7, and the root, and we can have those going down. So again, same rhythm. 1 and 2 and And so here, I'm grabbing 3 notes, index, middle, and ring, or grabbing the top 3 strings, and then the ring finger is picking the high string 2 more times. So 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And you could even grab all 3 strings while you do the hammer on beat 1 of measure 12. So I'm grabbing thumb, index, middle, and ring all open, then hammering on with the index finger of the left hand. So that's turnaround number 5. We can also keep the pinky on top. Turnaround number 6. We could then go up to this voicing. So we've got the flat 7, the root, and the 5th. And again, grabbing all 3 strings on top, index, middle, and ring with the picking hand. And picking the high string. And then we can collapse this down into this shape, a diminished chord shape. 6th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. Slide that down until we get to this E7 shape again. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then finally, we've got this one, we've got this one, we've got this one. And then we can go up here, and this is the one that you hear usually in A on the Robert Johnson recordings. Here we've got the root on top, we've got the flat 7 here on the 12th fret of the 4th string. So same idea of just keeping this note ringing on top in triplets, grabbing this note on the downbeat. So pinch and so that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that's turnaround number 8. Turnaround number 9, we can have the same thing in closed position here, grabbing the pinky on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, getting the flat 7 here on the 5th fret of the 5th string. So that's nice because these are portable. If you want to play these in other keys, maybe where you're not playing necessarily playing fingerstyle or necessarily playing with open strings, you want to just find your root note wherever you have it. Here it is in C. Here it is if we were going to do it in, I don't know, F. And you just find your F note on the 2nd string and you can find the rest of it. So that's number 9. And then finally, this one is a little bit different as far as going a little further into measure 12. So here, that takes you all the way around to the beginning of the next time through the chord progression, all the way through the end of bar 12 to land the beginning of what would be the next measure 1. So here we're using a series of chord shapes. So I'll just go through it's the same right hand coordination or picking hand coordination. So I will just go through the voicings first. Here we have E7 and then A7. So here, E7, we got the 5th in the bass, the 3rd, and the flat 7. So that note, and that note. And then over to A7. Here's the open A, here's the flat 7, here's the 3rd. Flat 7 and 3rd. And then here's A minor 6. The whole thing comes down 1 fret. So here's the root, here's the 6, here's the flat 3rd. And then to E with G sharp in the bass. So here's E, sorry, here's the 3rd, G sharp, here's the root E, here's the 5th. And then we're going to collapse down to a diminished voicing here at the 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. F sharp minor 7, everything at the 2nd fret, and then B7, so root, flat 3rd, and flat 7, root, 3rd, and flat 7, and then E. So if you're coming from So there it is, 10 turnarounds that you can add to your vocabulary. Again, if you'd like to learn more about improvising and arranging and working with your vocabulary to build up a stash of things that you can swap in and out of the blues tunes you're playing, check out my membership, the Fingerstyle 5, over at fretboardconfidential.com. Have fun working on these turnarounds, and I'll see you next time.